Hi guys, Jasmo here. Today we're gonna talk about changed Warcries in Path of Exile Harvest. There is a new post explaining all of the reworked Warcries, and it's pretty exciting. There are a lot of cool potential uses, especially for like the minion stuff. But so they decided to rework the Warcries because they're gonna be focusing on two-handed weapons and buffing two-handed weapons in this expansion. And I myself am working on a two-handed build, which is gonna use Consecrated Path, and probably that's going to be in the next video, just like a baseline version of the build, and then based on the patch notes and everything that changes next league, we're going to adjust that. But that's going to be like a really cool idea that I'll show you also in the footage in this video, that you're going to see like what we're going to be doing next. But the changes to Warcry skills are really cool. So they added some extra Warcries. First there's the Enduring Cry, which basically they didn't do much about that. Basically you generate endurance charges, you get some healing for a short duration. So whenever you take damage, you can press that, and then you just get a little bit of healing and endurance charges based on the enemies around you. And it takes into account both the number of enemies around you as well as the power of the enemies around you. So rare monsters, magic monsters will of course grant stronger buffs, more endurance charges, and so on. So this is a really cool change because now it's not going to be useless for bossing, which is really good. So maybe you can get like a couple of endurance charges instead of just like one endurance charge if you have like a unique boss around and nothing else if you fight a boss. Other than that, that's nothing else about Enduring Cry has changed. Intimidating Cry only was available from items, and now it's gonna be a skill gem, and it has full rework now. Basically it's like an offensive Warcry. It intimidates nearby enemies, exerting few attacks to deal double damage. So your few next attacks will deal double damage, and also ignore some physical damage reduction based on like how many enemies nearby were there. So this would be mostly for bosses, because the physical damage reduction, I think it doesn't go into negatives. It's like just like you know, elemental resistance penetration. So it probably will be mostly useful for like bosses. You just do this Warcry and then you smash the boss a couple of times and you can kill bosses faster. The biggest weakness of the two-handed builds is the single target damage, right? Like AoE is great, clear speed, if you get enough move and attack speed, is great because you slam a large area anyway, so you have that coverage. But the single target is the problem. So this could potentially help the single target depending on how strong it is when you use it next to a unique enemy, right? So that remains to be seen in practice, but potentially could help the single target a lot, and maybe even just you'll run with it in the maps, just constantly using it if you have the instant Warcries keystone, because they are actually adding a keystone that is making your Warcries instant instead of having it like a notable that you could anoint. So now it's gonna be somewhere in the area of Marauder, like somewhere close to Blood Magic, I think. That's where that keystone will be, basically making your Warcries instant. Then we have Ancestral Cry. This works with the strike skills, so you know, like Molten Strike, Pestilence Strike, all that kind of strikes, all those kinds of strikes, like Static Strike, whatever, that that have strike in their tag. And previously you would like anoint Tribal Fury and then maybe get like a mod on your gloves that gives you additional strikes, so you don't have to use the Ancestral Call gem. But if you use that and Ancestral Call, you basically get like extra attacks around you, and this provides you with exactly that. So you can use this Ancestral Cry, and then your next few strikes also target nearby enemies, just like with the Ancestral Call. So this allows you to like drop that support, and maybe if you're using other Warcries, you can do this and then some damage one, and then go to town and just wreck the mobs, right? So you don't have to have that extra support gem gimping your damage, right? Also provides buff based on the power of nearby enemies, which both increases your melee range as well as providing bonus armor. So that's like a melee range, armor, and extra strikes. That's a very versatile Warcry just for mapping all around, you know? So this is for mapping with like Molten Strike, Pestilence Strike, that kind of a stuff. Just like melee strikes, you know, dual strike or whatever. Seismic Cry This one is specifically for the slam skills, so that's what I'm gonna be trying to do. I'll try to make like a build for the next league that is not gonna be a starter build probably, but definitely something fun to play. It causes your next few slam skills to have increased AoE and deal more damage, which both increase with each attack until you reset. Okay, so basically you do this Seismic Cry, and then your next few attacks will have larger and larger AoE and more damage until you reset the Warcry or until they run out. So let's say you do this cry and then your next 4 attacks are empowered, so first is gonna be bigger, then even bigger, even bigger, even bigger, and then they are reset, so you have to Warcry again, right? Also knocks enemies back and interrupts them. That's just sounds like it's actually bad unless you somehow reverse the knockup direction or whatever, because knockback makes it so that they go away from you and you want enemies to be close to you, especially if you like slamming, you want the AoE to hit everyone, but it probably shouldn't mess up things too much. Rallying Cry, these couple last ones are actually the more exciting ones. Rallying Cry was reworked, and now it causes nearby allies to gain a buff that grants them percentage of your main hand weapon's damage. So the interesting thing about that is that you could have a really slow weapon with a fuck ton of damage. So if this works with like, maybe it would become like a meta to have to play Summoner with like a staff or an axe. Probably actually an axe would be the best, right? So you have like a two-handed axe with as much added phase damage and as much added elemental damage as you possibly can, to just have the pure average hit, like maximum. So you have like T1 fire, T1 lightning, T1 cold, or like lightning cold physical, like whatever rolls you can fit on that just boost your one hit power. And then you can scale attack speed of your minions, and your minions will gain the percentage of the weapon damage and just go to town. You can have like zombies or skeletons or Herald of Purity minions, whatever you can get. Like even SRS or something potentially could benefit from that. So you can have like a staff or something and run SRS. Like this could be really crazy, the Rallying Cry. I think the Rallying Cry has like potential to be absolutely broken with the right weapon on a Summoner, right? That will have a lot of attack speed for the minions. So Summoner is getting some crazy buffs actually, and I don't know, it's probably not intended, but that's actually the class that is getting buffed by two-handed reworks. It exerts your next few attacks to deal more damage based on how many allies, which sure, you can do it like the Herald of Purity memes, but I think the Summoner is the one that benefits from this the most actually. Next we have Infernal Cry. This was previously known as Abyssal Cry, so it's reworked, so no longer Abyssal Cry, but we have now this. It covers enemies in Ash, which is basically they are slowed and they take more fire damage. Scales with the power of nearby enemies and causes enemies that are affected by this debuff to explode with fire damage when they are slain. So this is basically an explode mode for something like Consecrated Path. The thing is, with Consecrated Path, what I'm doing right now is I'm using Ignite Proliferation as well as Herald of Fire, right? Which are both giving you that extra AoE, and you really don't need anything extra. You don't need the explosions because everything just burns if you ignite that. But if you are not igniting that also, and you cover it from Ash, you can cover stuff from Ash from other things, and you have to always like Infernal Cry. Yeah, I don't think this is really good. Like this looks really good on paper because it gives you the explode, but the thing is, it only gives you the explode on the targets you Warcried, so you'd have to like super spam it every time you attack, and I don't think that's possible because it wouldn't be instant, and because then it gets a cooldown. Like yeah, I don't think this would work very well. It looks really good, but I don't think it will work very good. And then General's Cry, which is also really cool. This one can be supported or can be a skill itself. Like it can be a support or a skill. It's a skill support hybrid. Melee attacks can be linked to it, and it summons warriors from corpses near you, and these warriors will use the linked skills once and then disappear. So this is cool. This could like kind of like proliferate any skill you're using. So let's say you're using Earthquake, you could do the Earthquake Slam, and then you do the Warcry, and then corpses from the slain monsters rise, and then they slam around you, like they do earthquakes around the place where you earthquaked, so that they kill the stragglers, right? So this could be something that works really well. This is like a really cool one to experiment with, and I'm sure someone will find really cool uses for this one. So I'm mostly excited probably for the Rallying Cry, because I think like this one will be the best. With summoners, it's gonna be really crazy. And then Seismic Cry, because it's just more damage and AoE, as well as the Intimidating Cry just having more damage, right? So this will be really cool. I'm converting to all fire, so this part, like enemies physical damage reduction, doesn't do shit for me. So I'll probably use like the Seismic Cry, but maybe the Intimidating Cry for bosses and so on, right? So those are the reworks. Next video I'll try to do like an overview of my Consecrated Path character, because it's really fun, and if some issues can be solved, it can be also very powerful. The main issue is the single target, but I think with these Warcries maybe we'll have some extra single target and be able to play a really nice slam character. So that's it. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.